Hello everyone, welcome to the first video in this new little tutorial series about OpenGL. And I'm planning to cover all kinds of little topics, and I have a little list going with that. I think it'll be pretty fun. But of course, to get started with anything, we have to set up the project. So let's get everything hooking up. So first thing I'm going to be doing is I'm just going to create a little repository in here so I can actually use submodules, which I think will make some things helpful. So to start with, let's make a little vendor directory here, and that will just be where I clone all my things into, specifically the library files. And for those library files, I have them all pulled up here. So first we have the GLAD files here, and this will handle loading our OpenGL functions into our code. So here I have it generating for C++ version 4.6 on the core profile. Then for the extensions, we want to pick out the anisotropic one. Go to show up, which apparently it doesn't. Let me do a refresh here. Okay, it's just acting up. There we go. So we want to add this little extension here. Let me apply these settings back. And then there's some experimental settings here, but we don't need to touch any of them. So we can generate the file, and then I'll take this GLAD file and I'll save it. So with this set up, I can make ourselves a GLAD2 folder here, and I can put the content in. And this will handle loading those OpenGL functions for us. As for the other libraries, I can actually just clone the rest of them with Git. So first we have Jlfw, and this will be used to create and handle the windowing system, which is actually very nicely cross-platform. So I'm going to be using it. So to do that, I'll just create the submodules, and I'll add this in. And I'm going to specifically clone it into that vendor folder. So that'll get us access to this API here, and we're going to talk about building it soon. Next we have GLM, which is an OpenGL math library, but it doesn't specifically have to be OpenGL, it's just a very good math library in general. So again, I'm just going to clone it into our submodules. And this one usually takes a second to do. But the last one we're going to do today is speedlog. And this is just, again, a very good logging library. And we'll find early on having some kind of logging system to help us out would be very nice. And I'll just submit that command. And of course it should execute after I wait for that to complete. Yeah. Alright. And I will create my git ignore file here as well. And basically I'm going to be hooking up the binary files to go into these two main directories. And since I will be building using Visual Studio, it does end up including this VS file, which I don't want to include. Alright, so that gets all our libraries cloned in. So for me, I'm just going to boot up Visual Studio here and get some hooked up. And I'll create it on our desktop inside this directory here, and I'll create a tutorial project inside the solution outside of the directories. So we're gonna quickly make that, and first thing I'm going to do is just close it right away, since again it's just a little annoying where it puts files by default. So what we're going to do now is hook some things up. So because, again, Visual Studio is very picky about how files are set up, I'm just going to quickly rename those two things we got to build, since it's not going to let me make a directory in there. So we're going to create a project, empty projects, in the existing solution, inside this vendor folder. And it will be the Jlfw project. We'll create that. And we're going to make the GLAD project. GLAD 2. And after those are created, I will rename these to get the contents merged together. So as soon as I update these, we can see everything kind of showing up. So in our tutorial project, let's add a source folder in here just to put our code. If I can type correctly, entry points. It would be our main function. And before we do any running, we're going to do some configuring here. So first thing is this configuration manager. And I'm just going to take out all the 32-bit related stuff, since I'm just going to build for the 64-bit. And this would take a quick minute to do. Alright, that'll get all that hooked up nicely. So again, I don't like where it puts these by default, so I'm going to specify my own directories for these. So they're going to go in solution directory, project name, platform, configuration, like that. Then for the intermediate files, I will put them in this little intermediate folder. And I'm also going to specify C++17 for this. Then, again, I have to apply this for all Visual Studio projects, which is a bit irritating, but it's what it is. And for these, we want to build them as a static library. Alright, so that'll just get all the building stuff hooked up. Now for the tutorial project, we're going to make sure it's a startup project. And I'm going to make sure it builds Jlfw and GLAD before it tries running it. So for our GLAD, we just have to include this one tiny file. Then inside its project settings, its include directory, I just gotta specify the include file. And that should be enough to make it build. Now for Jlfw, it has a similar situation. So here there's actually a ton of files we have to specify. So to get it to build correctly, we need to, let me see here, we need these three files. And this would differ between what platform you're building for. The files would be slightly different. See here we're going to need these three files. Context, EGL context, the input files are monitor file, we need that. Monitor.c, we need the OS Mesa context files. And then we need Vulkan, the WGL files, and all the Windows32 files, and window.c. Get those included. And let's see. Yep, we gotta specify that include directory. So I'll just specify it real quick. Alright, so if we build this, I believe Jlfw is gonna complain a bit. Yeah. So we have to specify to build with Windows. And this can just go in the preprocessor tab. So this should build everything pretty nicely here. Ooh. Yeah, I forgot another annoying Windows specific. This CRT no warning thing. I'm pretty sure this is something that only shows up on Windows, but it's annoying nonetheless. Yeah, in this case, I trust that Jlfw is calling the functions correctly. Alright, so this gets everything built up and should be working. For our tutorial project, in terms of the include directories, we actually want to include all these projects. So I'm going to just make them all relative to the solution directory inside the vendor folder. So I'm going to specify the Jlfw include. We're going to grab the Glad2 include files. Then there's the GLM, which does not have an include directory. The last one is speedlog, which I believe it does. So I am going to confirm that real quick. Yeah, it does. Okay, thought so. So that gets all our include directories. And then we have to specify all the library files so it can link correctly. On Windows, this will be inside our linker tab. In Visual Studio, I should say. So we want to grab the library file for Jlfw, our Glad2 library file. Then GLM and speedlog, those are just header only, so we don't have to specify it. Then for our library paths, where is it? Additional library paths. This will be in our solution directory. And these will be built into our binary folder. So we have Jlfw, and I specifically set up to use the platform, then configuration. So I just make sure it picks out the ones that match. So that's to grab the Jlfw one, and our Glad2 one, I just slightly adjust this name. And this should find all the files it needs. So let's make sure it can do that. And it does, which is amazing. So to actually get our little hello world program, I'll actually use speedlog to do this since we have it available. So I'll just include speedlog, and then I'll just use the info trace here. So I can say hello world. And then this actually has a lot of nice formatting too, so it will just look nice. There you go, hello world. And that'll be everything I'm going to cover today. In the next video, we're going to hook up the Jlfw window, which will be kind of fun to do. And we're also going to get clear color on that, so there's a lot to look forward to. We're just getting started. Anyways, see you all in the next video. Goodbye.